Welcome. Today we've got Steve Crosier, minor league strength and conditioning guy. Been in the pros, working with guys for had a pretty big career here, pretty long career. Steve, I appreciate you spending some time with us.
Thank you for having me on, Marty. Very excited.
Yeah. So before we get into all the pro stuff and where you've been and guys you worked with and stories from the Sally League, let's go back a little bit and tell me a little bit about your playing career. You're from the state here, played
Right.
in the state. So tell me a little bit about where you played and a little bit of your college days as well.
Okay. High school wise, Marty, I went to Winfield High School, graduated in 1980, probably had a little bit bigger basketball background. I don't know if you followed the state high school basketball, but my ninth grade year was 77, 79, and 80. We were in the finals against North Fork. Obviously, they beat us, but we went to 3AA finals. I think they won it 10 years in a row. And I was recruited by some small schools in basketball and stuff. And probably where I put more time in basketball than baseball, through the high school level, just simply because we were really good. Our baseball program was okay at Winfield. It wasn't, they've had some good teams and some good years here as of late. But I probably put more time in basketball. And I graduated in 80. I was an all-state basketball, baseball player. I think I was the first team all-state baseball player at Winfield. Winfield, I don't know if you know Jim Ladd. Jim's a major league coach, retired now. He's from Winfield. They didn't even have high school baseball when Jim, played and stuff like that. He played American Legion, and he played some minor league ball, and then he coached, in the major leagues for a long time.
Good. So how does that translate? So you play some high school ball. Tell me a little bit about the college side now. I think you played for a legend, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, played for Cal. I'll tell you what, the recruiting story. We built a house on Bills Creek, nice house, and I had a lot of friends that played for Cal. Okay, and they wanted him to recruit me. A lot of word of mouth. Hey, this guy's okay and stuff. He didn't come to very many games. I probably wasn't Cal's exact cup of tea. I was an athletic guy who could run fast. I threw left-handed, pretty good pitcher in high school, and I hit right-handed. And I was an outfielder, and I was a line drive guy. And so he comes to the house. My dad was a truck driver. My mom's a teacher. We have a really nice house. And, the impression I got, after we got into the talk and stuff was he left me thinking that, what, I don't think you can play for me. And it kind of made me mad. And the more I thought about it, and I had a few small college basketball offers and, a couple baseball offers and stuff. But I mean, even at that time, we're talking 1980, my senior year. So I played for him for 4 years, 81 through 84. And I ended up going there. And I think by and large, because he left me at the impression that I wanted to prove to him that I could play there. I don't think he thought I could.
So what? So you're there. Give me a good Cal Bailey story. Something in the dugout.
Oh my gosh, we could. Yeah, we could. Oh my goodness, we could talk. I'll give you one, Marty. My junior year, we're at Shepherd, farthest trip there is for us from Institute, 6 hours. And we go there and we lose a doubleheader, unheard of. When I was in school, we pretty much, I don't know if we lost hardly a game or two in league. Our Southern schedule was very strong. We played Coastal, a lot of teams that transitioned into Division I. We get beat both games. I can remember, he doesn't say much. He goes starters in my van, scrap in the other van. And we take off. We drive about an hour. He pulls off. This is true. I'm not exaggerating. We stop at a general store and he gets a big thing of bologna and with his pocket knife, we go through with our bread, get our sandwich, bologna, cheese, eat it. And, we break down on the way back. Guy I work with at Buffalo, Jimmy Tribble, who's an All-American catcher. He says, he looks at him and he goes, go get somebody. The next thing I know, Trib jumps over the guardrail, comes back about 10 minutes later. We had a belt broke, in the engine. So the guy fixes it. It's on a Sunday night too. So it's kind of weird, that we were that fortunate. We drive back, we get back to Institute, 3:30 in the morning, get your stuff on, girls. We're practicing. We practice in the gym for about 2.5 hours and he said, nobody better be late for their Monday morning 8 o'clock class. Because back in, we took, everybody would get 8 o'clock, get it over with and stuff like that. But yeah, I can tell you, we could sit here and, talk for hours about some stories that he's had, stuff. But
so tell me about the transition. So you're done. You've played your college career. So how does that transition into some high school coaching and then some strength and conditioning work there in the minors?
Well, I'll tell you what, let me face you up at state. My first year, I did awful. I hated it. And he hated me, and I probably didn't like him very much. And, I come home and, my mom and dad, they said, you're not leaving. You're going to grind it out. I said, okay. So I started working my tail off. And by my last 2 years, I was honorable mention All-American and stuff. And we became, really close and stuff. After my junior year, there wasn't as many, obviously, major league teams. We had trial camps. You probably went to some. He takes me to one at Logan. So it was a Cincinnati Reds camp. You got to run your 60, throw hit into the camp. Guy named Marty Davis comes up and says, I want to sign you. Come back to the car. I said, come over here, big dog. That's Cal's nickname. Walk back there. He goes over the things. He's going to sign me to free agent contract, go to wherever they were at, Sarasota. And he goes through all that stuff. Cal looks and says, hey, you want to sign? I said, I'm not signing. I had a bad first year for you. I owe you more than that. I'm coming back my senior year, which I did. Had a good year. Didn't get drafted. Went to a bunch of trial camps. Nothing happened. Very disappointing. Did my student teaching in the fall. Sent out letters to every major league team. Ended up in camp with the Expos. Worked out for about a month. Sent me home. I'd already got on the substitute teacher list, took the assistant job at South Charleston High School, get a call. They said, we want to sign you. And my mom and dad said, you're not going to the big leagues, just start working. That's it. So, but I, kind of been interesting. Most people would jump on the chance, but, I stayed there with him and, I'm glad I did, and stuff, because I wasn't going to make it to the big leagues. I may have played a year or two, but, I just think that you take care of business at one level before you go to the next.
Sure. So translate that. So you're doing some high school baseball coaching. Tell me about some of those stops along the way.
Okay, so I do the assistant's job. I don't go back with the Expos. I do the assistant's job. The head coach there got in some trouble. I think there was a drug scandal and stuff. So the very next year, I'm the interim coach at age 23. Okay, at South Charleston High School, and great experience. And I did what I knew, I what Calvin had showed me in terms of, running a program. Sure. We play bad. Guess what? We're practicing after the game. I don't, even then it was 1986. I don't think a lot of parents particularly cared for that, but we ended up having a great year. We won like 23 games. I think we got beat by Huntington East in the regional finals, but that kind of got the ball rolling. I stayed there till 97. I was there 12 years, never won a state championship, but left with the program at a high. We played in 3 finals and, did some good things. And, we put lights up. We added an addition to the weight room, the baseball people with the funding we raised and stuff, and had a marquee program. It's probably one of the top 3 or 4 programs in the state. Had good people working for me. Had a good group of parents and stuff, and just really put a lot of time in it. And I was coaching other sports at the time. I was basketball, which South Charleston was top, and then in baseball and football. I did that for a few years. So I was very busy, and I was going to graduate school. If I look back on it now, I don't know how I did it, but when you're young, you can do anything.
Sure. So how's that transition into a 20-year, almost 20-year minor league career as a strength and conditioning coach?
Well, I'll tell you, obviously, and this, I've done some college wood bat. The only league I hadn't worked in is the Cape, but at the lower levels, you got to do everything. You work on your field, you do your own, strength and conditioning, your player development and fundraising and all that. So, and along with what I did in the basketball program too, because we worked out religiously and stuff, I just kind of got good at it, and it was something that I was used to doing. So consequently, I always did that. So anytime the baseball players weren't in season, they were in the weight room where we were running and lifting and doing things back really when, I mean, we're talking, I took over in 86 to 97 at South Charleston. I mean, there was people doing some things, but I don't think they were doing things to the level we were, whether it's basketball or baseball. So I just kind of got used to, doing that stuff,
So
And
tell me the story of how it transitioned. Did you I think go ahead.
I was at Riverside High School. Okay. I coached at University of Charleston a couple of years. Good friend of mine, Jim Fout, Coach Randy Moss and all those guys. He's a basketball coach in New School, East Bank, DuPont, Consolidated. He calls and I said, yeah, I'll go up there. I had a nice teaching job and stuff. And then got into that and I think I might have been doing night school after basketball practice. I was working in the evenings and I got on the internet because, nobody even knew anything hardly about it. Late 90s, 2000, I couldn't even, get on. And I had saw this National Strength and Conditioning thing, and I saw where they had positions advertising. Okay, so I sent something in, and the guy from the Mets, Jason Craig, who had been in the major leagues, and he was running their minor league system. He calls, does a phone interview. We talk a couple of times, and the next thing I know, I had to take a leave of absence. So I had to go and tell my principal. They tell superintendent, they okay it. So because I had to work in the Sally League, you do a 6-month deal. I had to go down in March and do spring training because they don't know you. So the first year that I was there, I worked in a South Atlantic League with the Mets, Capital City. Ballpark was not very good. It's not the new one now in Columbia. It was the old one where probably the Coastal Plains League plays. But we had a manager named TJT Arena, and we had a great relationship. He knew I was a baseball coach, and that, kind of answering your question, my coaching, I was a baseball coach that at the pro level was doing the conditioning. So, during the game, I keep a chart for TJ. I'm like the BP, he knew, anytime you're servicing players all day, it's all hands on board. If you can do something and you know what you're doing, hey, they'll let you do it. So, after I got done doing my things and stuff, I'd help out in other ways and everything. But we had made the playoffs. Had David Wright was on the team. He was a second-year pro. Angel Pagan, among others. There may have been a few other fringe major league players, but great league. I mean, it's the broadest geographic league. It runs from Georgia to New Jersey. I mean, I was telling somebody the other day, I spent, probably half the time on buses, 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, bus rides. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, when I played out in the Pioneer League, man, we had some Salt Lake City up into Canada, and there's
you had the same at the advanced rookie. I did a lot of work in the Appy League, but the trips were awesome. I was telling somebody, and you get off the bus, you feel good. You get off, 4-game sets in the Sally, and you go 6-8 hours, and you get in at 5 in the morning, and you got to be in the weight room at 9 or 10. Man, you're a zombie. And you're on the road a week and home a week, and that's kind of how that progresses and stuff. But it's amazing what we can do once you get used to something. You can do anything.
Sure. So the main thing that I want to start chatting a little bit about that I'm really interested in is the strength and conditioning part and how that plays a role in the recruiting. So talk to me, like when you're working with these minor league teams and we say strength and conditioning, give me, what's the definition there? What's the depth and the breadth? What are you talking about there? What all does that encompass?
Well, it's going to encompass flexibility, and I'm big on that. I mean, the one thing, that the strength coaches do in the minor leagues every day, you're going to do an organized warm up. We're going to be in line, you're going to do an active warm up, then a static stretch. You may do some arm care work with bands. Obviously, you're going to do, in season lifting, which I was looking at your questions, and I never figured out even the program, say, for instance, in college, you would lift all year and then you go in your season and you quit lifting. What's going to happen? You're going to get tired. You're going to be less energized, and your performance will probably go down. So in-season maintenance lifting, agility, we'll have the ladders, cone drills, just rudimentary stuff where people can't get hurt. You don't want to get somebody hurt because that's when they get mad. But like core work, with medicine balls, band work, form running, anything that's going to make you a little bit better during the course of the game, we will do.
So you've been with several different clubs. What are the different philosophies that you see guys kind of coming with, or that clubs have? Does it change club to club?
Oh, sure it does. When I first got in with the Mets, they're what I categorize as a major market team. They spend a lot of money at every level, minor leagues, free agents, and stuff like that. But answering your question, some organizations are aggressive with their strength and conditioning program, and some are passive. They do it because people do things now. Obviously because other people do things. When I first got in, I can remember with the Mets, Jason hired me, and he'd been to big league level. He wanted a good program. Get out there, make sure your guys are running, make sure they're doing things and stuff. And there was other teams that, the athletic trainer might, warm up the, players, stretch and stuff like that, along with, taking care of injuries. So, and I think now, about 20 years later, just about everybody there's a high level of precedence for that, because what it's going to do is just like with it, for instance, you work out, keep yourself in shape, it's going to prevent injury, it's going to increase performance, and you're not going to miss as many games, and plus you have a chance to get better if you're doing all those things. You're getting faster, more agile, stronger, more flexible, whatever the case may be. Everybody has weaknesses.
So talk to me about, so specifically in the recruiting process, obviously measurables are huge. That's what gets a college coach's attention. It's exit velo, it's arm velo, it's foot speed, 60 time, that kind of thing. Tell me, in your experience working with high school guys and even pro guys now, how does the strength and conditioning translate into the measurables?
Well, I mean, obviously, if people start doing things in addition to their sport, I mean, and you play minor league baseball, it works like this. What would you do before the game? You're going to go in and practice. I mean, you may lift, you may condition, and you're going to do some repetitive work on the field before you get to the game. Okay, what a game does is the game's going to show the higher ups what, the coaches, what you need to work on to the next day. But you got to do all these other things, like I said, to keep yourself strong and feeling good. Game's going to make you tired. Games are going to expose your weaknesses and stuff. And so I think, more so than anything, I think, just keeping people on the field and available and getting better,
how does the strength and conditioning translate into measurables? Because kids are trying so hard. They're going to these showcases, trying to show measurables, but then some of them don't really have a strength and conditioning. And I don't think they put that together.
Right, exactly. Well, I'll tell you this, and I'll go at it like this way, and I've done a little scouting. Basically, if you're a scout and you sign any player, okay, you're hopeful, even if he's a free agent or a low round pick, that somehow he has to have a tool or two. Okay. And, and then once you get into, your ball, whether it's short season, 70 games, or long season, 140, or the big league level, 162, you got to be able to, cut out to do those things. That's why you're not seeing, there's not very many pitchers 6 foot or less signed, because they just don't hold up. uh, you know, position players. I mean, some of these scouts or these college coaches, they got to see some physicality first before, especially your Division I guys. I think, like, for instance, I'll give you, like, with Cal. Cal, obviously, when I played, he could recruit with Marshall and WVU in this state. His program was that good. Now, WVU's, Big 12. And, if there's a guy in the state, obviously everybody's dream is playing for West Virginia. You got to have the physicality for Coach Mazey to probably notice you. I mean, he's not going to, regardless of how good your ball skills are, if you're undersized and slow of foot, because what happens is, and this, as you move up, the speed of the game gets faster, and you got to be able to combat that. So, usually bigger, faster, stronger people can kind of combat those elements a little bit better than somebody, slight of build or.
Sure. So what about like sports specific? So what are baseball? What do you see baseball players doing in those minor league programs that may be sports specific? That I'm sure there's general stuff that everybody does, but what's
Sure.
some of the sports specific stuff that you see?
Well, I'll tell you from a resistance perspective, Marty, I mean, basically baseball players are on their feet all day, play a lot of games. You have strong legs. I'd encourage any baseball player, just from a weight perspective, weight room, make sure your legs are strong, whether you're squatting, leg press, leg curls. And, most of the time, the front of a male person's body is going to be twice as strong as the back. Most of your lower body injuries are hamstrings, or your low back injuries and stuff. So make sure you do the back of your body. But your legs, you need to do a lot of pulling exercises for scaps. You work with pitchers, they throw the ball, your scaps are going to be your brake pads and stuff like that. Especially now, guys throw the ball very hard. Front of their body strong. You need to have muscle balance in the back of your body with your scaps, but a lot of pulling exercises in your core area, whether it be your frontal abs, your obliques, or your low back. Your body's basically a kinetic chain. You're going to get energy from the ground. You're going to funnel it through your legs, your core, and then out your upper extremities. And if any of those phases are weak, you're going to lose something, whether it be bat speed or arm speed, whatever the case may be. But, as far as lifting, I would encourage baseball players to do a good job on their legs, good job on their core, and do a lot of pulling exercises. I noticed a question you'd written, if kids have a basic strength. I mean, if I have a guy that has good, most males are going to have good pecs. They like to do a lot of chest work. I'm not doing that, and if your pecs are too tight, obviously, when you separate your hands to throw a ball or try to bring a bat head to a zone, it's going to slow you down a little bit. So you got to be smart about, you can't just work, a lot of people, non-functional or your beach muscles. You may look good, but you're not really working the type of things you need to work.
Yes, yeah, for sure. So walk through maybe what strength and conditioning, what you guys do, at the minor league level that might be different position by position. What are you doing for pitchers, let's say, that might be different from a position fielder, like a catcher or a corner infielder, middle infielder? Are there some differences by position that you guys see that you target?
Okay, I'll walk you through a day. Let's say, for instance, Tampa Bay, whether it be Gulf Coast or even in Princeton. Obviously the position players are playing every day. So, our pitchers, or their pitchers, say a weight program, they may lift 3 times a week because, you may not pitch twice a week. If you're a relief guy, you may pitch once a week if you're a starter. So the work volume off the field needs to be a little bit higher for a pitcher. Position guys may lift twice a week, because especially the everyday players, the extra players may get in a little bit of extra work. But what I would do, say, for instance, in Princeton, and I like the way the Rays did it with our pitchers, they had a block of time at 2:00. Let's say a basic stretch that I led was at 3:30. 2:00, I had nothing but pitchers. Okay, we got our running in, which, now the basic running program is more aggressive sprints, whether it be short sprints, medium, or long. Because obviously, if you're sprinting or 3/4 speed, you're working your quads, hamstrings, hip flexors, everything. The only time that you're going, maybe do the slow stuff might be, say, if you throw 5 innings or so, I might say, 25 minutes flush out, for that day. But you're back on the aggressive running program, for pitchers. But I would have an hour of time, and we would do an active warm up, a stretch, maybe a little foot stuff. I'm big on the agility ladder just for foot awareness, because most of your athletes, sometimes they don't have very good foot awareness, whether it be a pitcher delivering the ball or a hitter building stance from the ground up and stuff. And, it's fine motor too, which is kind of rare. We don't do a lot of things that are fine motor in this life. Coach is more rudimentary, changing direction, using the ground, planting and cutting. But I'd have an hour with those guys. We do some med ball and stuff just to work on different components, some balance stuff. And then I would take the rest of the team and then do the warm up for the position guys. And then the pitchers would go maybe on one line, position players on the other, because we'd have the field first if we're at home, the visiting team, and we do our flat ground throwing program. And Tampa Bay, let's say, for instance, you may go 30 feet, stopwatch driven. Coach will say, all right, back up. They go 60. Obviously, if you're working with maybe younger guys, you're not going to go 30, 60, 90, $120. Or after that, long toss out of that if you feel like it, but you're religious about the 30, 60, 90. Then they'd come in, finish with some change ups, 45-foot hat drill. I get down and, you might throw to me, and then you get down and I might come out of the stretch and throw it back to you, and they'd call it and stuff. But usually we throw 2 minutes and move back incrementally 30, 60, 90, 120. And anybody that wanted to go beyond that, if they needed the long toss, could. And then the rest of them are coming in throwing change ups at 70 foot because your arm sped up, trying to kill the ball. And then you finish with a 45-foot, hat, they drop or hat, it's called a hat drill, throw it over the plate and stuff. But, I'd warm everybody up. And then after that, after they would do the flat ground throwing, the position guys would do fundamental, then they get into the VP, and the pitchers are down the bullpen with the pitching coach, doing what they need to do. If it's a short game on flat ground, or if they need to mound, or whatever it may be. And then go in, get cleaned up, eat, and, come back out about a half hour for the game and play. But that's a normal routine, and counting your weight rooms too. Like in the Appy League, the travel's very friendly. So, we could lift a lot. You get in South Atlantic League, the bus may break down. You get, in town late, you ain't lifting that day, so you got to be ready to answer the bell. But, we did the weight rooms too and stuff. And then during the game, where I had a good baseball background, I may sit with the manager, do the game report, clock runners, how many pitches you saw in the sequence, where'd you hit the ball, making it easier for him to transition it into the computer. When I first got into it in the early twos, we may have a half hour, 35 minutes after the game, I have called my coordinator and write down some stuff. Now everything's computer, and they want it nice, and it takes about an hour and a half. I mean, there's more data being inputted just simply because they don't want to miss anybody. They want, so I tell you what, man, it's a tough life. Those guys get out there about 12:30 or 1, go lay down, get up the next day, and then, you're back at it.
Right. So are there, from a strength and conditioning, are there some exercises or lifts that baseball players should avoid, maybe specifically pitchers?
Yeah. I mean, baseball is what I call, where everybody's throwing the ball. So what I call overhead athlete. I mean, so obviously, you don't want to do anything that you do, Marty, you're going to weigh the risk versus the reward. But say, for instance, like an overhead press, you don't want to do that. Too much pressure on your shoulder capsules. The thing about it is, with all the volume that you're going to take, swinging a bat, throwing a ball, you got to pay particular attention to your shoulders. And, another thing too, I would recommend that every baseball player, whether he be a pitcher or position guy, have a band, do some band work every other day at least, just to keep, arm care, the shoulder and the arm in better shape and stuff. But throwing, I'm not a proponent of curveballs, at a younger age. Curveball's a low percentage pitch. I'm teaching guys a 2 and a 4 seam fastball, how to command it via the good mechanics, and a changeup, which is easy on the arm. Your breaking ball, you may start throwing, later in your high school years and stuff. But what I see, and this, you don't need 8 pitches to get a guy out. Most of the guys are going to get yourself out. The best pitch in baseball is a located fastball. If you throw it, a little off center, somebody, you get a swing, you're going to get people out. But Plus, obviously, if you want to get into the game's built around the fastball, throwing the fastball and hitting the fastball. Scout's not going to sign somebody. I've never seen a scout, and you'll never see a scout unless he wants to lose his job, come back and say, man, this guy had a 72-mile-an-hour curveball that would knock you out. And they're not going to do it. They want to see fastball. And then everything else from that point, then command, and can the guy win, and everything after that's gravy.
So as far as the recruiting process go, obviously size and strength, that look plays a pretty important role on the eye test. Can you talk a little bit about what you see based on your high school coaching, just size and strength of guys maybe at that, freshman, sophomore level, that junior, senior level, then college guys and pro guys? Can you talk or maybe give some differences of how you see those guys? Because it's easy to see a guy that, you show up in minor league camp and you see men. They're
Yeah.
big, they're men. And
Right.
then, you get to college, some of those seniors are getting bigger. But if you go all the way back to that middle school freshman guy, not so much. So can you talk a little bit
Right.
about the size and strength differences?
Well, I think first of all, if for instance me or you want to take baseball and be good at it and keep moving up the levels, you're going to have to do some things. You can't just play baseball. How we used to maybe go play 30 games in high school and play summer league. You're going to have to get on a running program. Your middle school guys, they're not too young to start doing stuff. One thing I like the Mets had, we had sandbags. They take inner tube tires, put sand in them. We could do squats, lunges, step ups, whether they're 20, 30, 40 pounds. You take lunge steps 40 yards in the outfield. It's equivalent of a 250-pound squat, but it's more functional when you got less chance to get hurt. But getting back to your question, the younger guys need to start doing things, medicine balls, throw balls off the wall. You can, lay down and do weighted, core work and stuff, or you can get out in the outfield and do throws and stuff. Anything, the band stuff is good. And then you can transition as you get into high school, dumbbells. And, with the Olympic bar stuff, I'm not a big bench press guy for baseball players because I think, it puts too much pressure. You can get what you need done pushing with dumbbells and you're not connected. It doesn't put quite the pressure on your shoulder capsules as a bench press would. But, squatting, I noticed a question there about in season and out of season. Out of season, you want to get more aggressive, especially if you're just a baseball player. In season, the big thing with me is a Crosier, don't hurt somebody in the weight room. I've seen so many strength coaches, the guy, Marty squatted 400 pounds and stuff, and then you tweak your back, you're going to lose your job. And it's dumb too on that guy's part because you don't need to be doing that in season. Out of season, you can get a little bit more aggressive, add some more weight and stuff. But, the natural transition would probably going to be, body weight stuff, functional athletic equipment into dumbbells and some Olympic lifting, like squatting or, the Rays do a lot of hex bar deadlifts where you sit down and bring the weight up and stuff like that. But I think the quicker guys can start doing those things. And I do lessons. I tell our guys all the time, do stuff, get a tee, hit balls. If you're not, the Mets used to have a cliche, after everything's said and done at the end of the day, give us 5 more minutes, work on something. And you'd be amazed if you took 5 minutes a day after everything's said and done and worked on anything, whether it's learning a new language or how to play a piano, you're going to get, after a while, you're going to pick something up. But and the thing is too, I think with a lot of these younger players now coming up through travel ball, they see these things. Now, the difference is, are you going to do them? Some guys do them, some guys don't. And, I've seen guys, I'll give you an instance. You were talking, I saw Billy Hamilton in 09. He probably didn't weigh about 30 Gulf Coast League. Man, he could fly. So it was just a matter of him getting to about 150 or 60, and he's a major league player because of, his ball skills were good. He could move. Like I said, he could get, and he probably transitioned from metal to wood. So a lesser weapon's going to be a lot tougher for a 130-pound guy in 100-degree heat. But once he got some weight on him, he excelled. But he had to have tools to get in, especially for the scout to sign a guy like that, because a very undersized guy but could run, really well.
So tell me a little bit about so now kind of I see a lot of the trend is guys are playing baseball like all year round. Where are you at on a little bit of rest or throwing all year round? Where do you kind of sit on the all year round baseball stuff?
Well, let me say this. I think the more baseball you play, the more running you have to do, the more stretching you got to do, the more, I've seen what happens, and you've seen this, these, especially your younger teams, they'll come out and people, here's what a true travel team is, Marty. It's a team that has coaches during the week, they practice, and the kids are put up in they're taken care of. A travel team is a team that's going to reconvene and show up on the weekend and play. They may go out, throw a little bit, bend over and touch your ankles, and they're ready to go. But they're not doing the stuff during the week. The more games you play, I don't care what you were saying, you're going to have to run more. You're going to have to stretch more. You're going to have to do some resistive work, whether you're a middle school guy and it's med ball, bands, body weight exercises, or you're, a high school kid and you're going to have to get in the weight room some because, the activity, here's what happens, as well as I do. You play after the game, you go through McDonald's drive-thru, you lay down, you get up and do it again, and you start feeling the effects of it after a while. If, your nutrition has to be good. My daughter's a nutritionist, and I mean, she's animate on that. And baseball is an endurance sport. You play, you can do anything in high school for 30 games. You can, because it's not long enough. You get in minor league baseball, hey, you play in, let's say you do extended spring and then you do 70 or you do long season 140, man, it takes a toll on you. So you got to do everything, hydrate right, get off your feet, rest. And if you want to make it to the big leagues.
So give me a good Sally League story with the Mets.
I'll give you one. We're taking an 8-day road trip. All right. And I'm getting to come home, see my daughter. She played at Radford basketball, but she was little at the time. I was divorced. So I got the chance to see her in August. We go to Lexington first, play the Legends, 0-2, probably 1-year-old stadium. It was awesome. I mean, the place is packed. There's cheerleaders on dugout. I've never seen cheerleaders at baseball games. They're throwing money in the stands. I mean, it's a big environment. So we're in the I think it's maybe the second game of the series. So I'm sitting there beside TJ. We're up 5-1, ninth inning, and it starts raining hard. They have 15 groundskeepers. I said, go out and buy some time. He doesn't look at me. And it's coming down harder. Our guy's sliding. He walks the guy. I said, go out and buy some time. He says, shut up. I said, okay, no problem. They end up tying the game up, and he is hot. And then they tarp it. 5-5, they put the tarp on it. They get a dink here, a walk, and he's hot. He knew he should have went out. And, and then we're up 5-1. But I see him hand the stuff to our hitting coach, who'd been the big leagues, older guy, and he's finishing up probably. I know he's gonna get chucked. He gets thrown out. So he goes to the clubhouse, and I knew John, the hitting coach, he hands it to the pitching coach, Lyle, and John goes out. He gets chucked. So I'm looking at Lyle. He's a little guy, pitching coach, real smart guy. He coached in Japan with Bobby Valentine all these years after he got out of affiliated ball. So he says, I'd always wear baseball pants anyway, and I had a dry fit shirt on. He goes, go get a jersey. You're coaching third, or you're coaching first. I'll coach third. So I don't know what spurred Lyle on, but Lyle goes to the, after we're getting ready to start back up, he gets thrown out. So the farm director's there, and he goes, Crosier, get your jersey on. I have a jersey, but it's in the clubhouse. I didn't wear a jersey during the game. I was wearing dry fit and baseball pants. So I had to run in. I come out on the Jumbotron, and I'm managing the team, the strength coach, in that thing. And,
it's starts raining. Good when they say, hey, go get your jersey.
Yeah. So I come back out, and everybody's like cheering and stuff. And the commissioner's there. and it starts raining again. We start back up, and then they call the game for that night, and then the next day they reinstate those guys. But for an instance, I got a little bit of managerial time in the Sally League.
That's fantastic. That's good stuff. So tell me about the evolution. We talked a little bit about like what guys should be doing to build some base strength. What's some of your favorite, maybe some of your favorite exercises, maybe like for let's group pitchers and then let's group position players. Like one or two of your favorites and you think really gives you some bang for your buck.
Uh, Let me say this first. I think, like if you're scripting a workout, your workout, obviously, let's say, for instance, if I'm going to give you a workout, I'm going to have you a general warm up, something you can do, elliptical, treadmill for 5 to 10 minutes just to get the body hot. Then we might do 5 minutes of stretching. Then we may have, 6 to 8 minutes of core work. Then we might do a couple minutes of balance work. Then we're going to get into our resistance training and finish with either some form running or some conditioning. Your resistance work, like I said, with baseball players, whether it be pitchers or position guys, I'm going to hit the legs. I'm going to do a lot of pulling stuff and a lot of core. And, I like to do stuff too that kids, what I consider, can win at. I think a lot of your, people that train people, they try to maybe dominate somebody and that they leave the workout and they're like, yeah, I killed that guy. Well, I don't want to do that, because what happens is you're not going to come back. I want you to get a good taste in your mouth, as far as what we're doing and stuff. But and I like to mix things up too. Some days if we're doing, some squatting or lower body stuff, leg press, leg curl, straight leg deadlifts, the next workout we do that encompasses legs, we may not even touch the weights. We may do some lunges, some step ups, air squats. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat. What you're trying to do is you're trying to increase performance. We're not weightlifters, we're baseball players. The guy that comes in and tells you, hey, Marty can bench press 400 pounds. Well, he's not very smart. Because you don't need to bench 400 pounds to play in the big leagues. You need enough strength to play in the big leagues. You need enough foot speed and flexibility to play in the big leagues. So all this stuff that we're doing, agility, we want it to integrate into the overall wellness of a player to where he doesn't get hurt and he improves himself and has energy to where he can get through the day. Because how much volume there is, minor leagues, you're suddenly taking, and that's the thing in this life. You can't account for something. I'm sure, where'd you play college at?
I played at Marietta College there for the old man, Don
Marietta.
Scally.
You told me that you played for Shally, so you played in a good program. But I guarantee you didn't practice as long as minor league baseball, did you? There?
No, no way.
So you mentioned earlier in the interview, hey, you have to love it. Well, it's hard to account for something if you haven't done. You're used to 3-hour practice, and then suddenly, you're coming in at Gulf Coast and you're lifting and running at 6 to 8, and then you go out and do base work and practice for 2 hours, go in and eat a sandwich, and then you're out for a noon game, and you're playing 6, 8 hours of baseball a day, working on your body. Hey, that's hard to fathom. That's why when I got into this, and I know a lot of scouts, I said the best thing you can do, go down to the complex. You can sign little Johnny and he may be good, but if he don't love it or if he doesn't have the propensity to want to do some work, he ain't gonna make it. And that's where you measure the heart right there. Some people, you got to have the measurables, like you said, throw 90, be over 6 foot, run a little bit, have a tool, have some bat speed. But once you get into the system, man, you better have some heart, because if you don't, hey, they'll chew you up and spit you out. I've seen it happen a lot of times.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me a little bit. So if I'm a high school guy, and programs are a little bit more advanced now, like you said. Some high schools have access to some pretty good strength and conditioning stuff. Do you have any strength and conditioning programs, websites, providers that you recommend that guys could go to either get a program put together or watch a program that's maybe baseball specific? Do you know of anything out there right now?
There's a website called National Strength and Conditioning Coaches Society, something of that nature. And they have articles, about your rotator cuff and stuff like that. I would think just overall, like if you found you're in Clarksburg, you could probably go up to WU, their strength coach, if he's working strictly baseball and doing sports specific stuff with baseball, it's probably pretty good. Where you have problems, let's say, for instance, at State, we didn't have one. We just did things on our own and kind of metamorphically tried to figure things out. But, um, you know, uh, if you do some, like I said, a little bit of research, you can find things on the internet as far as the lifting stuff. I don't think lifting's going to give you a problem. Like I said, obviously you want to do some legs and pulling and core. Where I see the problem at with people is they don't want to run. One year with the Mets, they had an inordinate amount of hamstring injuries. And, Jason went up and talked to the big, and it didn't have anything to do with what was going on. It's like, hey, this guy's making $10 million and, hey, we're running X amount of sprints and they don't want to do it. And then after the course of X amount of games, the hamstring blows out or something, So, and obviously, speed or movement is going to translate on both sides of the ball. If I go watch a game, whether I'm a scout or a college coach, I want to see somebody that can move, whether it's defensively or offensively. If not, you better be able to swing the bat great, because what happens is, they're measuring up a metal bat. Okay, they're going to give you a piece of wood. Gulf Coast League, the fences are 400 foot. It's 100 degrees. You couldn't hit one out if you had a Honda up your rear end. I mean, it ain't going to happen. And you're tired and sweating, and you know how that is. So they measure all that in, and they're going to say, like, yeah, I can't, he's a good college guy or high school guy with the metal wood, not happening,
So pitching specific, did you guys use various velocity programs, and were you involved with some of those? The weighted balls, the different band programs, some of the different lifting that they do with some of the velocity programs?
Well, honestly, I had just retired from teaching in February this year in February. So I worked a lot of short season. A couple of years I worked long season, but so a lot of that stuff happens in February, the ball stuff and everything. But I think Tampa Bay may do some heavier balls and throw it against the wall and stuff, and everything like that. But the thing they do good is this: their athletic trainers are good. Their strength guys are good. Their pitching coaches are good. And they have this. Everybody's on the same page. They have alignment, and that's why they develop arms. They do the flat ground incremental. They'll go down to the bullpens. After that, it's kind of like the hitter's BP. You may need 40-foot flat. Some guy might need to fill the mound, and you're going to get that at maybe 60 to 70%, but they'll be working on something, whether it's getting the ball out of your glove, staying in a good direction, whatever the case may be. And like I said, they'll do the flat ground 30, 60, 90, 120 with the long toss, and then finish with change ups and the hat trick in the bullpen routine and stuff. I think in February they may have a heavy ball type of thing. Here's my take on the balls, Marty. I like this. I've seen what's a ball weigh? 5 ounces. Okay. So, I've saw, where you can start out with maybe a 4-ounce ball, a little bit lighter. Okay. Or maybe a 6 ounce, let's say an ounce above the regular size of a ball to get the arm warm, but it's not going to, we'll start off and warm it up. Then we may go to the 4-ounce ball. And then obviously you want to finish with the 5. I think the farther you get from the weight of the natural ball, whether it's 5 ounces, I think, you may start breaking your mechanics down a little bit too. Say if I give you something heavy, you're not going to probably throw it the same as you would a 5-ounce ball. So I think balls that are in the realm of close to 5 ounces, whether they're a little bit lower or a little bit heavier, but I think once you start getting heavier, and the thing is, we start playing this game at such a young age, we have bad muscle memory. We give a kid a bat when he's 7 or 8, and he doesn't even have the natural physical strength to swing it. So, you get a lot of guys that work into the ball, lunge, do all this stuff, and we're in this corrective mode all the way through until, they get to where they can halfway do it. And then that's if they trust you enough to take a couple steps back and knowing that they're going to go forward here at some point in time.
So give me a good Gulf Coast. Which team were you with down the Gulf Coast?
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. Yeah. So give me a good Gulf Coast story.
Mostly Tampa Bay. 1 year at the Marlins. I'll tell you one that happened in 2017. I worked with a hitting coach with the Mets. He was in the big leagues. I'm going to tell you this winter ball story too. You'll laugh, but they were coming to town. We played at noon. We rolled in about 4:00. They're playing Port Charlotte Stone Crabs, which was our high A team, and it was the Mets, St. Lucie Mets, the high A team. So I had seen Louis Natera. He's a hitting coach for when I was at Kingsport. We spent a lot of time together. We're good friends. I probably hadn't seen him in 10 years, but I knew they were coming, and he just happened to be on that team. He usually worked. He was in the big leagues for a couple of years, worked in Binghamton mostly, but he was with them for some reason that year, 17. So I come in. We just got on the bus, took a shower, and they're hitting in the Rays have a outdoor cage that has a big curtain and stuff because it rains, in the afternoon every day,
Yeah.
So they're in there hitting. I walk around. Hey, how you doing? Hey, come over here, man. Give me a big hug. Say Stone BP. And I noticed the last group of guys he has, and I'm sitting there and I'm going to see how good you are. So I'm on the side of the net and it's heavy grade and it's like moving back to my face. And I'll take another step back and this guy, he's turning left-handed hitter and he's moving the grade back into my face. Tebow. And I tell you what, man, that guy was a stud. Yeah, he was playing for them then. And so I got to meet him, which I thought was pretty cool. I think it might have been 16, maybe that year, 16 or 17 Gulf Coast. I'd always go out and run sprints before the game. I'm out there about 11:35. So this guy comes out. Most of the time with Gulf Coast guys, they're tired. And you got to go, come on, girls, get out here. We're running, And manager, get him out there, Crosier. So I'm out there running, and it's about 11:20. They didn't have to be on the line until 35. And this guy comes out. He's a clean guy. And I thought, double A or triple A guy. He comes out. How you doing? I said, fine. How you doing? And we get a lot of rehab guys, And I didn't know this guy. He comes out and runs sprints and stuff. The rest of them come out and everything. We start playing as Kiermaier. And so I was impressed. He comes out. That's why he's there. He's probably 5'10", 185. But
nobody
for the guy to take
anything.
For the guy to take that initiative, he could have came out late. You're not going to say nothing to a big league guy. He's just playing this game so he can, get it done quicker and get out with his evening. You either play Gulf Coast or you can play, Florida State League game at 7. They probably have the choice. But, I was impressed with that. He came out and, we would have I remember in 2009, Dice K pitched. We played the Red Sox. He had like a humongous entourage of people around him and stuff. It was interesting just watching, him throw and everything. Winter League story. I got to tell you this one. I'm in 1 year. I go a couple weeks from teaching. You get your winter break and stuff. So I'm with the Mets, and I go to. They said we want you to come down. They were sharing a facility. They have a modern place now. I hadn't seen it, but they were in Boca Chica. I landed in Santo Domingo, but long story short, I don't get an international carrier because I'm going to meet, some guys over there. I don't need to pay for that, for this. I'm only going to be there 2 or 3 weeks. So John F. Kennedy, New York, one of them airports.
Yeah, JFK.
We get the wings. Okay, that's what it is. Wings ice up. We're sitting there 8 hours. So I get in the next morning. I'm supposed to be there that night. I land in Santo Domingo Airport, and it's wild. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. So I don't have, I didn't put these numbers. I just got a cell phone, and I didn't even have a text. So I didn't put these numbers in my phone. I didn't have an international carrier. I didn't see any reason to. I'm going to land. They're going to pick me up. I'm going to be here a couple of weeks, and they'll send me back. So they're not there. I'm walking around Santo Domingo Airport in the morning. And, I don't speak very good English or Spanish, a little bit of Spanglish. But so I'm walking around. I don't know where I'm at. And I get in this taxi. This guy grabs me, get in the taxi. So I get in and I'm driving down the road. I look up. There's 3 doors on the taxi. One door's tore off. I'm like, oh, my gosh. So we drive around for a while. And I said, put me there. It's like a Sheraton or Hilton hotel. So I go in there, I give the guy $100 for the ride. I go into Sheraton, so I have to call a guy as an administrator at Riverside. He goes back into school. It's winter break. He looks at my Rolodex. He said, "Here's the number." So I get the number, and I call from the hotel phone because I couldn't call out on mine. It's $100 phone call. And I spent $100 for the room. I laid down for about an hour. I spent $100. So the guys come over and get me. I said, "Man, I'm out of money. I'm going to spend $500. I ain't even done anything." So we get, I stay over there a couple of weeks. Louis was coaching the winter ball team, and that's interesting too. You have a lot of pros, a lot of different coaches from organizations. So the weeks are good. And, he lived in San Pedro de Macorís, which a lot of major league players over there. I got to meet a lot of guys that live over there and stuff. And it's a neat experience. So I get back to the airport. Okay. You got to go through customs and, I think at Puerto Rico. So, you have your bags with you. So my plane is getting ready to go. I said, "I need my bags." They said, they're not making it through customs. So what I do? They said, "Better get on your plane." So I take off running through the airport, get on my plane, and we fly back to maybe New York, and then we fly to Charleston. It's icy and stuff. So I get in. There's a guy I know at Yeager Airport. So I walk through, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "You don't even want to know." But I said, "I just came from the Dominican," and I said, "I don't have my bags." I said, "What's the protocol?" He said, "Well, I can check them right here." He said, "Yeah, they're in customs right now." And he said, "They won't be sent here," but he said, "Here's your problem. You probably have about half of your stuff because they'll pilfer through it." And I had some ball gloves and stuff, a bunch of stuff that I had bought over there. And he said, "That's probably the best we can do." He said, "Where are you at?" I said, "I'm teaching at Riverside." He said, "I'll call you or I'll have them sent up there." So I kind of forgot. I was teaching one day and I heard that, I was upstairs and somebody knocks on the door. Guy comes in from the airport. He said, "I got your bags." I said, "Oh, okay." So I got them and put them down over in the corner, got the kids working on assignment. So I'm opening the bags. I'm thinking, "Oh, please don't steal my glove," and a couple of things like that. I opened up, had everything in them. It was amazing, man. So I always tell people, if you have a plane to catch or your bags, catch the plane, your bags will find you. And I mean, I was amazed I didn't have anything stolen, and everything. But there's all kinds, when you're doing stuff every day like that, it's amazing. I mean, I could, that's the beauty of minor league baseball. It's the duress that you're under every day. And if you know what you're doing and you pay attention, it's like taking a PhD in baseball. I mean, you pick up stuff. I've worked with Mookie Wilson. I've worked with Jimmy Morrison, Danny Schaefer, all these major league guys, and they're baseball field rats. They love it. And you get out there with them if you love it, and you pay attention and you pick up so much stuff. And that's why I feel like I'm so blessed. I got that 12-year experience, got to finish my teaching career off too. I didn't have to quit and go out because, I did a couple years at New Mexico State men's basketball where I was out of the teaching industry. I did straight basketball, but I was lucky enough to, be able to teach and do this in the summers and had a good
time's out right.
reputation. And
I said time's out right where you can you can do that, and then it's perfect timing.
Exactly. And they had a good reputation of being a baseball guy, and hey, this guy can make your team better, and he knows strength and conditioning, but he's also a baseball coach and stuff. So really worked out great. I've probably been in 35 states, a bunch of different countries and stuff. The things that I wouldn't have done otherwise without having the experience of this, which I feel blessed with that. And then just a lot of the people I've met. I've got 2 souvenirs that I've had through all of the baseball stuff. I mean, I've gotten a bunch of stuff, but 2 souvenirs. David Wright gave me a bat the year I had him in the Sally League, and I actually saw him when I worked with the Marlins. He was doing rehab at the very end of the summer, maybe in 18. his last year there and stuff, with the Mets. I think he came back for a short period of time. And then Roger Clemens, I don't know if you remember, his son played in the Appy League, and he used to leave, he'd pitch and then he'd go train with those guys. And I remember we're sitting in the office, Mookie Wilson was the manager, and he comes in with a bunch of baseballs. He said, "Hey guys, how you doing? I'm here, son." He'd run, do all the stuff, fly back to Houston and pitch, but he'd be out there with those guys the other days. He brought in a bunch of autographed balls. He said, "I don't want to be arrogant." He said, "Here's a bunch of balls. Your fans want them." So I got me a ball from him, signed and stuff. So that, those are two good keepsakes.
So what about West Virginia guys? You meet many West Virginia guys along your travels?
Yeah, I tell you, Jimmy Morrison, played in the big leagues. He was our Gulf Coast manager up to 17 with the Rays. And I worked for Schaefer in the Appy League. So it'd be either one of those guys. And we were out warming up one time, and I heard Morrison say, "Come here, Crosier, you redneck from West Virginia, get over here. I want you to meet this guy." And it was Don Robinson, who lives in Bradenton right beside Jimmy Morrison, pitched at Kanawha and stuff, big leagues and everything. And he came out, shook my hand. We talked a little bit, but, it was pretty cool. I hadn't met that guy. And, was trying to think. I mean, sheesh, I met all kinds of guys and, just good people. I mean, the thing about that industry is, it's tough, but and it's going to weed out the lazy, not so good, so the people that are there, they love it. And, they're good people, work hard. I haven't met too many people that, have been unfriendly to me.
So I saw where you got to work a little bit with Corey Bird, went to Marshall.
Work with Corey with the Marlins. Yeah. Corey's Corey took hitting lessons off me when he was like little, and he progressed all the way through. He only weighed like 100. I had a barn out South Ridge. The guy used to let me use, and we had a super setup there. Corey came out, never missed a Sunday. I just did it on Sundays. And I remember Jeff Wagner from Marshall came in one day, and he said, "Where's Bird at?" And I said, "It's that guy." He's, like, "Man, he's a little way." I said, "Hey, he's got a heart, man. You get him on the weights." I said, "He'll be good." He played there 3 years, and I think he's going to be in Double-A this year. But yeah, he's a good person, and he kind of epitomizes, what you need from a personal standpoint. He's a clean liver. Obviously, if you're out, if you're working all day, you stay up late, you drink, you're not going to make it. And the guys that like Bird's going to go as far as his talent will take him. And he works. He weighs 210 now. I mean, he's a fanatic in the weight room and stuff, but. I've worked with Corey. He's a real good person. And, like I said, hopefully he'll get to the big leagues, through the Marlins chain and everything.
Sure. Steve Crosier, almost a couple decades in the minor leagues as a strength conditioning coach, high school coach. You've been around the baseball world, buddy. I really appreciate you spending some time with us tonight, man. Thank you.
I appreciate you having me, Marty. Thank you.